Hello and welcome to another weekend of championship predictions from the On Sport podcast. I'm Craig Savage and with me as always is Mr. Daniel Cody. Let's have a quick recap of last weekend's championship predictions. We will do the midweek one in the next midweek predictions. A much better weekend for Mr. Daniel Cody. He had one perfect score and that was the first result of that weekend. It was Huddersfield 1, Stoke 1. No other perfect score on there. Daniel Cody wins that one by 9 points to 4, which he didn't know about because I kept that quiet from him. But Danny Cody wins 9 points to 4. So let's get on to this weekend's action. Not many games in there. It is the FA Cup 4th round weekend, so most of them are still in the hat. But there are 4 fixtures. And we start off with Friday night action. It's Birmingham City versus Sheffield United at St Andrews. Birmingham squandered a 2-2 draw. And Sheffield United were pretty comfortable with a 2-0 victory at Peterborough.
Yeah, Sheffield United, they had a little blip, but they're just starting to look comfortable again now. Back-to-back 2-0 wins. Obviously, I saw the first of those against Luton. And Birmingham, I don't know. They had the brilliance of a 2-goal comeback against Peterborough late on to save them, followed by the reverse against Derby. And obviously the manner of it, probably the tactical changes that were made late on as well, which forced them into a more defensive shape and ended up costing them a point. Seemed to backfire a bit. And Birmingham have got an awful defensive record. You go back to their last 4 championship games now, they've conceded 11 goals. It's not good enough when you've played Derby, Peterborough and Barnsley in that, which is the current bottom 3. Obviously the 6 were against Fulham. And Sheffield United looked pretty solid at the back. So based on that, given Birmingham's pretty average home form, the fact that Sheffield United have got the 5th best record away from home in the league, I have to go for them. I have to go for them comfortably. I think Birmingham will concede 2 again, but this time they're not scoring. 2-0 Sheffield United.
Yeah, I'm going to Sheffield United to win as well. Sheffield United, from the bits I saw against Peterborough, they didn't need to get out of second and third gear. Brewster got injured. Billy Sharp on the score sheet again, record championship goal scorer since obviously the term of the championship. So congratulations to him. I always like Billy Sharp actually. So I do think they're going to win this game. I'm going to go by 3-1. Right, next up, it's Blackpool versus Bristol City at Bloomfield Road. Blackpool picked up a fantastic away point at Fulham. And Bristol City, they lost that lead late on to Preston. It finished 2-2. Once again, Bristol City actually played a little bit better and they still came up with, 1 point, not enough to get over the line.
No, and they're another side that defensively is just all over the place. They can't hold on to leads. I mean, they're a similar story. They've conceded 12 in their last 4, started with a 6 against Fulham, but then their 2s conceded are against Luton, Preston and Cardiff, and all of those are outside the top 8. They're games they should be better defensively. I really struggle with Bristol City to understand how they're going to be consistent because they play some very decent football in the middle third, but they don't have a cutting edge. They play up to a target man, they've got runners off, but they don't have natural goal scorers in that position. Someone like Nahki Wells, who you'd think would be, just hasn't delivered. So it's quite difficult on that front. Blackpool, really good at Fulham, backs up a good win against Millwall. I think it's very safe to say they're going to be absolutely fine now on 37 points already. And it's a good championship season for them. They brought in Charlie Kirk last week, which is another good addition to the squad from the lower leagues. We've talked about their recruitment numerous times here. I know Bristol City is slightly better on the road, but there's something about it. I just fancy Blackpool in this game. I fancy it to be a pretty low-scoring game. I'm going to go for 2-1 to Blackpool, but it could as easily be 1-0.
I'm also going to go for a Blackpool win. I that will give Blackpool a load of confidence to go to Craven Cottage, pick up a point for straight Fulham as well. Bristol City, it didn't surprise me. They conceded late on. It really didn't. And I know I had a 3-minute edit on the rant on Bristol City, and I'm not going to say much more on them. I'm going Blackpool to win by 2-0. Right, next up, it's Hull versus Preston. Hull, good start under the new manager, Shota Arveladze. They won 2-0 against Swansea. And Preston, they played midweek. They drew 0 with Millwall, and there's nothing really to talk about that game. So let's go on about Hull. Excellent start.
Yeah, a really good start. And I mean start. The first 20 minutes, they came flying out the traps. They had the fans behind them. One of the goals, the build-up was absolutely fantastic. It was exactly what they would have hoped when they appointed him. To make that impact quickly is a real positive. Obviously, we talked about the other side of that with Swansea in midweek. They allowed it to happen by being pretty awful, to be honest. But in the second half, they then went back to the Grant McCann style. They managed to defend well when there was a little mini barrage towards the end. and all very positive, but you do feel that new owner / new manager bounce has got to end eventually. They have made some good signings in the week. I know they've brought in a striker from the Turkish league, but they've brought in a lot more British-based players than many expected, and some decent signings there as well. Secured Ryan Longman permanently, which is a good addition too. And they're coming up against a Preston side that are in decent form, but look, it was a nothing game, wasn't it? The missed penalty ended up being the highlight of the match. It was an opportunity to win it, but there wasn't much in the game aside from that. So I don't think they can complain at the result overall. Both sides 3 unbeaten. Both look very decent defensively. If you ignore that Bristol City blip for Preston, I'm going to have to go 0-0. I'm going to have to go 0-0.
Wasn't expecting that.
Neither was I.
To be fair, I haven't done this yet. I'm going to go for Championship favourite scoreline of 1-1, to be honest. Obviously, Hull will be delighted with, it's 3 wins on the bounce, really, when you think about it for Hull. So is that brilliant for them? Preston done well to come back into the game last Saturday, but 2-2 draw. Obviously, yeah, I got really nothing to say about the Millwall Preston game. It looks like it was very uneventful, despite the penalty miss. Very uneventful game. To be honest, I think they probably would have taken the point to start with. So that's probably the only positive I can probably have for Preston's point of view. Hull riding the wave at the moment. Very good January. But Championship favourite scoreline of 1-1. And the final game is Swansea versus Blackburn. Both these teams' last game was against Luton Town. Swansea lost 1-0 in midweek. Blackburn drew 0-0 at Kenilworth Road. Let's start with Swansea because they've read very recent. It's all good having possession, and I'm finding them quite boring. I don't know about you.
It's starting to strike a resemblance of Philip Cocu's Derby or Louis van Gaal's Manchester United, or those sides that have possession for possession's sake, but don't necessarily break the lines often enough to create chances. Now, I do know that in this game, Swansea, yes, they hit the post. Yes, they had one other great chance from a brilliant defence splitting pass, which James Shea made a great save from. But that was about it. And when you're at home to another, what was at the time, mid-table side, you would expect to really push on and try and dominate. And look, we're still early in the Russell Martin development. It's the first season, but it's 3 games without scoring a goal. It's 2 goals in the last 5 games. And again, when you're playing Huddersfield, Preston, QPR and Luton and Hull, probably 5 sides you'd expect to compete with a Swansea. And you're not creating that many chances. It's great having a possession, but they're now 3 places from the relegation zone. Fair enough, they've got enough of a buffer because some of the sides at the bottom are in atrocious form, but it's something that's got to be improved eventually there. Yes, they've lost key attacking players in recent years, but there's going to need to be a turnaround there. Blackburn, look, we knew that they were without attacking stars. Obviously, Brent Brereton Diaz missed the last 2 games. They've only scored 2 in 4 themselves, so they're not in the best of form. They've got that pressure now of being in the top 2. And ever since we've started this prediction show, funny things has happened once the side's got into the top 2 or into the top 6. And I'm tempted to go back-to-back 0-0s, but I'm going to go for Blackburn to edge it by 1-0 because as we saw in midweek, I know the build-up to the goal was great from Luton, but there's a defensive error in Swansea.
As said, I said kind of feel a bit boring because, as you alluded to, all possession. But you got to do something with that possession. They're not doing anything with the possession. Like I think I saw at one point 72%. I think that was ended on 72%. That's great. Good for them. But if you can have those 72% possession, you've got to have the more shots in it. Then you worry about, okay, well, we're getting the shots in, but we just can't score. You're not even creating the shots. It's all good playing sideways. It feels like England in 2006. All good playing sideways across the back, blah, blah, blah. But you got to do something with it. But you can't get what you deserve because you're going to get punished by the odd chance. And that's what Luton had, and they took it. And fair play to them. And I was Luton biased, but that's what you got to do. I think if it was Peterborough and they done that, fair play to them. Hull did the same. Hull had 2 shots on target and they scored from it. So there's something clearly wrong with that sort of play for Swansea. Blackburn, obviously, were missing key players. Obviously, you said no Brereton Diaz, no Rothwell. Yeah, Blackburn, for me, it was get something out of that game. It was regardless of a point, and that's what they did. And they obviously time wasted a little bit. Obviously, they had Gallagher go off injured. So they had to bring on Ayala up top, which obviously, just to be a big man, as Tony Mowbray said, it wasn't the prettiest game of football. It was actually pretty horrible to watch. I will say we went to watch it. But they'll be happy with the point, and it's another point on the road to promotion, maybe. I'm going to go for Blackburn to carry on winning this. I'm going to go by 2-1. let's have a quick recap what we just predicted for this weekend's action. We've pretty much gone the same way what we want. Sheffield United are going to win. We feel like Blackpool are going to win. We think Hull Preston are going to draw. And Blackburn are going to win at Swansea. And those are predictions for this weekend's action. Do you agree with us or disagree with us? Let us know in the comments section and give us your predictions for these 4 games. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Honest Football Podcast, and you can follow us on Twitter at Honest Football Free. And we'll see you next time.